Wife to keep the kids away for a month. You got to Google how to move a dead horse. You got to possibly get another horse to help you do it, and that's not going to. Here we go now.
It's that time again.
It's that time again.
Why is this funny? So we're looking at different jokes that are our favorites. It's my week.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out why in the world they're actually funny.
Yeah.
And so this is yet another one of my people that I follow quite a bit. Love every aspect of him. And he's in an area where I like to go a lot, where a lot of comics are. In Nashville, it is.
Yeah.
And it's Nate Bargatze.
Yeah, easy for you to say. Can you spell it, though?
Bargatze. I just know it's Italian, I think.
Italian guy from Nashville, Tennessee.
It does not sound like an Italian guy. I think he makes a joke about that, too, in one of his bits, that because he left Nashville, went to New York for a long time, which is where he really took off.
Yeah. And
he talks about the whole joke is going back. He had a daughter, and it was like, she's not going to, be better than them. So he moved her back to Tennessee. But he didn't ever fit in with any of the Italians in New York because he's so Southern. So that's his bit. This is, he's done I have several jokes I really like. This one is kind of more recent one in the sense of last several years. That's pretty popular. I love every aspect of it. It probably best encapsulates who he is and what he's about. And so we'll talk about it afterwards, but I don't even know what the name of this one would be, but it's about a horse.
About a horse. Here we go.
Thank you. That's very nice. I was in Seattle recently, and if you ever go to Seattle, they have Mount Rainier is about an hour away. It's the third biggest mountain in America. It's a good one to go to. I don't know who number 1 or number 2 is, but maybe one day it'll be number 1. Do mountains keep growing? I don't know. That's stuff that I don't know. But it's a good time to see it.
It's a good time.
It doesn't have the attitude of a 1 or a 2. So
catch it while it's humble.
I was with a buddy, and we rented a car. He's driving. On the way out there, I see a dead horse. I mean, just laid out in someone's yard. And I've never seen that before. And I was like, man, I bet you don't think about that when you buy a horse. Like it dying. Like you don't fast forward that far. That's a huge thing, dying in your yard. That's the weight of a horse. I mean, you can't just scoot it off into the woods with your foot and be like, let's try to get another one before the kids come home. You have to...
There's some planning.
You have to tell your wife to keep the kids away for a month. You got to Google how to move a dead horse. You got to possibly get another horse to help you do it, and that's not going to be easy. I think that's what the blinders are for, because it's like, just look ahead. Don't worry about what's going on back here.
Don't you worry about it.
Or you got to get your friends to help you do it, and you can't spill the beans too quick on that. You think it's hard to get them to help you move a couch? Try a dead horse.
This is a brilliant line.
You got to lie to them. You got to just be like, we're getting a divorce. We hate each other. Just come over. Bring your truck, though. And
now, listen to the response.
And when they pull in there, let me tell you, they're going to see it. All right, everybody saw it. It was next to the road. So they're going to pull into that driveway and be like, man, I don't think they're getting a divorce at all. I think we're here to move that dead horse is what I think. And I say, let's let him bring it up, make him ask, but I will be shocked if we don't touch that dead horse today.
That's so funny.
And look, if you ever have to move a dead horse, I've clearly thought about it.
Clearly.
And
yes.
you want to be the first one to the horse. You don't want someone else to tell you where to grab a dead horse. So you just run out there like you love it, like it's the third one you've done that day, and get to the hoofs and go ahead and start lifting and be like, you guys get where you guys got to get, some guys down there, and let's just get it over with. So at this point, we're basically at Mount Rainier, and That was the whole car ride, was that conversation. So, if you've never been to Mount Rainier, just a heads up, you got to pay to go up it. It's not a free mountain. Someone owns it, and it's all uphill. It's a nightmare. So
Imagine that.
we get up and we park, and then we're like walking up this trail, and I'm going up it. I mean, I can barely breathe. And this couple's coming down, and I like stopped them. I was like, "Hey, is this like enough? Like where we're at? Like, you know, is this like you get it? Like we're not trying to live on this mountain. So, is this like good? You know?" And the lady goes, "I'm 75 years old, and I did it." And I was like, "Maybe that's why you didn't hear the question that I asked." Because
Maybe that's why you missed this.
I mean, everybody's pretty cocky on the way down, you know, like, there was women with babies. They had 3-month-old babies strapped to their chests. I was like, why would you bring that much extra weight with you? I left my wallet in the car. I mean, they looked exhausted. I'm surprised they're not just babies left up there and rangers have to come down. Whose baby is this? It's like, that's ours. We're gonna let it grow up and come down on its own. It was a huge mistake bringing that baby today. So we get our picture, and we come back down. So now we're driving back, and since my buddy was driving, he did not see the dead horse the first time, you know. And I was like, well, you got to see it, dude. You can't not see it. You know, that's all I've talked about. So we get to the house. I kind of remembered where it was, and we get to the house, and I was like, it's right here. And I pointed, and the horse was standing up, doing. Unbelievable. I mean, it was one of the healthier horses that I've ever seen. And and then I realized, you know what? I guess I've never seen a horse sleep either. So thank you guys so much.
Brilliant.
That is hysterical.
Yes. So before we talk about why it's funny, just I heard him talk about that joke. I heard somebody, either heard him or somebody talking about that joke being written. And supposedly it actually, the entire joke happened just as he told it.
Really?
So the way I understand it was he's in Seattle to do a show.
Yeah.
They go to see Mount Rainier. He goes, he does this happens. They actually have that conversation all the way up.
Yeah.
They come back down. The horse is alive. They laugh about it. And he goes, I think I'm going to write a bit about this. He says the way he writes jokes, if I understand him correctly, was he writes. So on the way that day, he thought it through, did it that night. And it hasn't changed much since the first time he did it. It's pretty much.
It's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and everything about it's funny because you can imagine the two of those guys in the car after they see a dead horse, they then are talking about it all the way up there, and that's where all these stupid ideas come from. Him. What do you do with a dead horse? And then all these jokes come up, and then he writes it.
The one that got me at first was actually talking about going to the mountain that's in third place and making it like get it now while it's still humble because. Yes, because once it gets to the first place,
I feel like all of his jokes, and really in this whole bit, what makes it funny is almost literally everything is he's always leading you down a path, and then it's change
redirection,
right turn. And while he's doing all that, his stick that he does in most of his jokes is he's the dumb human, he's stupid, he's uneducated, he didn't get a college degree. He says these things.
He plays the dumb guy through the whole thing.
Even like in that one is I didn't even know who's in first place, you know, and like it even matters. He uses that whole shtick a lot, so he becomes what we call self-deprecating jokes, which then makes him likable.
Right.
He always liked that guy. And so he's doing it here, you know, the guy at the party that's kind of stupid and everybody makes fun of. He plays that role, and I think that's kind of what makes this whole bit.
That makes him endearing.
Yes,
I think Norm Macdonald one time talk about that. Said no one likes the smart guy.
Right.
The first thing you have to do as a comedian is be the dumbest guy in the room.
Yes.
Because if you don't, nobody likes you.
Yes. Well, you know, and I've been around comics who it comes across arrogant.
Yeah.
And once you're arrogant, tip him how many arrogant people are the heroes of the story. That you go, yeah, I love that guy. Not many.
Now, he's got a potty mouth, but Theo Von plays a dumb country bumpkin as well.
Yeah, that's his whole shtick.
You're like, I don't know, man.
I'll say he's pretty convincing.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, he's got a history to sort of.
Right. Whereas I feel like
Nate's a little bit of a shtick. You can tell it's a
shtick. Yeah. And they have a podcast, he does, called Nate Land. And if you haven't subscribed to it, it's well worth watching. And, 2 or 3 of those guys are, I think are great. There's 4 comedians that do the podcast. All are very funny.
That redirection about how to get your friends over to move the horse. Here again, I would rather tell them I'm getting a divorce.
Right. They're way more likely.
They're way more likely to
help me move out than they are to move a dead horse.
It's that callback to we talked about him in a previous episode a while back about I would rather be known as coming to McDonald's to meet a male hooker than I would.
Yes, it's the thing that's like the worst thing is not the obvious thing,
right?
It's and that's definitely it. But the funny thing about the whole the horse bit itself is the fact that all of that thing, you don't even see it coming.
Yeah.
And then he puts these twists on it, things that you wouldn't even have a conversation about. Like, were you going to grab the horse?
Right. Be the first one to the horse. Yeah. Otherwise, you get leftovers.
That to me is so smart I'm going to talk about something that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah.
And it's just such an offbeat concept. And so, okay, where are you going to grab it? Well, let's make a joke about the whole concept because it is true.
Yeah. It's brilliant. He made something out of really nothing to me.
Honestly, yeah, you can literally see 2 guys driving up a mountain, see a dead horse, and decide to have a conversation about it. Because it's like, what do you do with a dead horse? That horse is just dead right there on the side of the road.
How do you move it?
Yeah.
And then you investigate that thought.
Oh, yeah, you just go on and on.
And then compare it to it ain't like a cat where you just sort of you got to have the kids go away for a long time.
Yes. Because, you just can't scooch it over into the woods. It's not going to be easy to replace it.
This is going to be
a horse.
And then you have to get a horse.
To move a horse.
Which is hard enough.
Yeah, put blinders on it.
I mean, he made something out of nothing with that.
If you watch Nate Land, you'll see how this probably happened. I don't remember who the guy was with him, but I want to say it's another comedian. Again, I heard this on a podcast. Him explain it, but again, the whole concept of them going up that mountain. It's just if you watch the podcast, he does it a lot. He's just rambling with ideas about whatever the subject matter is. They're just constantly throwing out jokes. So I can imagine they're sitting in there in this car just one after another.
He's hitting on all cylinders. It's a funny premise.
It is.
It's a funny delivery, and the writing is stellar.
Yeah, he didn't steal it.
No.
He didn't steal
he made that one.
What's funny is the whole thing feels like, okay, it's going to be a Mount Rainier joke. No, it's a dead horse joke. Oh, wait a minute. We're back to Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole joke on Mount Rainier that literally has nothing to do with the horse.
Yeah.
Then we come back to the horse.
He tied every knot. There wasn't a loose string there.
Yes. And to me, his sarcasm, his kind of tricks are sarcasm, the right turn, playing the stupid card, all of these techniques that he uses into it. Because a lot of guys, I feel like a lot of comics and the ones that aren't great, they'll have like one bit that they do, like they're just very sarcastic all the time, or they try to be extreme. Everything is like, I'm just going to go down and say the craziest stuff that you've never heard. And this is a guy I feel like who's like, he's learned the sarcastic thing and how to be sarcastic. Kind of in a good way, but he doesn't use it as his only tool.
Right.
I'm actually telling jokes and premises and developing stories. He's a storyteller where I'm using this as a tool.
Right.
And
instead
not
of a crutch.
Yes. Which a lot of guys, and they'll even do that with, even with cussing and stuff a lot of times.
Yeah.
It just becomes, I'm not really funny, but I'm going to just say a lot of curse words.
Right.
And just cuss it all the way through. Whereas he's using all of these elements. To me, that's what makes it funny.
Yeah, in comedy, cussing to me is like reverb when it's a bad singer. Just throw some more verb on it and try to bury the vocals.
Right.
Well, why don't you learn to sing? Then you wouldn't have to have so many effects.
Yes. And there's very few comics that won't tell you that if you're going to do dirty or if you're going to use a curse word, it's better that it punches the joke up, not the joke itself.
Right.
So if you got this funny joke and it's a funny premise, then let it be the piece that pushes it forward if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely him. He uses all these things, and he's on a tear.
Well, why do we think he's funny? For a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of reasons. Very funny.
Yeah.
Very funny.
All right.